And now we can get to talking about combat in the game. If anybody wanted to really compare side by side, you can pause the videos where I was making my edits and so forth and explain. It's just a poorly edited book. So this book is so Indigo Dragon says this book is really overwritten. So many paragraphs could be reduced to a single sentence. Yes, and yes, 100% right. When I hear half action, I'm assuming that the game has half actions and full actions. Well, so what the game has, and we will get to it, is it has single actions, half actions, and all actions. But the words all and half are capitalized. Therefore, it is a defined term. As long as, there's this caveat, as long as the game defines that term, there's nothing wrong with it. If it doesn't define the term and makes you kind of get it through inference, then Heathen Dog is 1000% correct. But I can define up as down if I want to, as long as I'm consistent about that. I mean,
yeah, but no one's going to want to read your book.
Fair. No. I don't disagree with that, but you can do that. That is something. Let me look over. I have to look over here. I would caution against excessive jargon. Yes, making up jargon, normal English. There's a game called Shard RPG that has so many made up words, it makes the game very difficult to read. And I know the person did that to get you into the mindset of the world, but oof, it was really difficult.
You have to have a bridge there. You just can't make people jump.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Again, that part is over. Breathe in. Breathe out. Now let's talk about combat in Battlelords of the 23rd century. I'm telling you, I think we're going to like this. I think I'm hoping. What do you think? Do you think we're going to like combat? You didn't read it. You don't freaking know.
No, but you asked me what I think. Having absolutely no information to go on, I think it's going to suck.
Indigo Dragon says definitely the humor out from the previous editions. Yes. Well, okay, Indigo Dragon, you also read the rest of it, or at least compared some of the rest of it, because I saw some of your comments earlier. What do you think about the combat rules in the old one? And I don't mean specific instances of rules. I mean the rules write-up versus 6th edition and 7th edition. I will tell you that I compared only for like 5 minutes, just kind of comparing certain things. I thought the conciseness of 6th edition, even if the rules themselves were more convoluted, was easier to understand. That's personal preference.
Figure that one out.
Okay, initiative. What's the first thing that happens in a combat round? Well, we already read that, but for the people who skipped that section, it's initiative. In initiative, lower is better.
Right.
So for this game, and that kind of makes sense because isn't everything in Battlelords of the 23rd century lower is better?
First, just like in comments.
What's that?
Just like in YouTube comments, the person who goes first says first. That's that's one.
There you go.
There you go. But you can't get a 1 in this game, I don't think, unless you have a modifier.
You can get negative.
You're rolling, if you scroll down a little bit, you're rolling to determine initiative, a 2d10, subtracting your character's initiative modifier, which is determined by their agility. Now, that means if your agility sucks, you're actually subtracting a positive number? Or
we all went to grade school math. That's not a problem.
I know. But I'm just saying, it shouldn't say subtract. It should say augmented or affected or calculating your character's initiative modifier. Whatever. But okay. That's just me.
I'll tell you right now that in my game that I'm writing, I say add 100% of the time. Because I figured that you know 3rd grade math and know that adding a minus 2 means
actually subtracting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Recall that your character's initiative modifier can be modified by the alertness skill and the body equilibrium skill, only for Iridani. If initiatives are tied, actions occur simultaneously. Using this method, it is possible to get an initiative score that is a negative number. Characters act proceeding in order from lowest to highest initiative. Okay, you can get a negative number, which is fine. And it says here, the really cool thing though is actions occur simultaneously. I know you like that because you like things happening at the same time.
Yes.
So let's say 2 people get a 4, good guy, bad guy, white hat, black hat. They get a 4. They both shoot each other. They both damage each other. Now, normally somehow this damage might affect their target numbers in some way, or their rolls for their skills. It might.
Okay.
I got shot in the eye. Well, no, it happened at the same time. So it doesn't matter who rolled first.
Yeah, you ever see it
at the same time? So
people killed each other in duels all the time.
Yeah. I mean, it happened at the exact same time. So it doesn't matter who rolls first. It happened at the same moment. So no modifiers for anything is going to occur until both actions are completed. which is good.
All right. So determining number of actions. So actions are determined by your agility or highest combat skill. Now, let's say, now this is something I disagree with because of the nature of the way my brain works, but I agree with to simplify and just move the game forward. If Heathen Dog is playing a Ram Python with an unarmed combat skill of 13, even though he's using a firearm, he still gets 8 actions. It's for simplicity's sake.
Oh, so any combat skill, even if you're not employing it that round.
Let me verify that, because when I was reading this, I was more worried about grammar. But yes. And also, you can never have more than 8 actions, even with the Scissor Axe 2 additional action. So, action summary. Actions for all activities other than defending must be spent during the character's initiative. So you can't save oh, yes, you can. There's holding. Anyway, this game is so convoluted sometimes. For all intents and purposes, when it is your initiative, if you have 8 actions, unless you're saving something to defend, you use all 8 actions at that time.
Okay.
Now you can, at the beginning of each combat round, your character's actions are returned to the original total. Usually that's, in most games, that's done at the end of a round. That's like the last phase of like your combat. But in this one, it happens at the beginning of the round either way. And actions not spent during combat round are lost. So if you only use, 4 of your 6 actions, well.
Oh yeah, here we go. I found it. It does not matter what combat skill the character is using at the time or whether another combat skill would have produced more or fewer actions per combat round. The character simply uses the highest level combat skill they possess when determining the number of actions they receive. And I know you hate this because I'm sure it sticks in your mind like Palladium, boxing skill. Yep,
100%.
I knew it. The moment I read that, I knew that's where you're going to go. But basically, what this thing is saying, with the first half of
which page is that?
And the last sentence
is
saying that if you have a hand-to-hand combat of 10 and a firearm combat skill of 4 and an agility of 2, no matter what kind of attack you are doing, whether it be hand-to-hand combat, whether it be throwing a spear, whether it be shooting a gun or punching someone in the face, you are going to use your highest skill rating, which is the 10, to determine your number of actions.
Yes, I like it for simplicity's sake. This bothers me less than the boxing, but not by much. I don't like the idea that just because you know how to use a rifle really well, all of a sudden you get 7 punches in a round.
Yeah. See, it doesn't work for me either. Yeah. I mean, with boxing, I have a counter to that. The whole Palladium boxing thing, I imagine a whole training montage like Rocky, like you're chasing chickens, you're bouncing the ball, you're doing the weird jump rope thing. It will increase your agility and hand-eye coordination across the board, not just in boxing, across the board. That's what gives you the +1. I rationalize in my head like that.
That's fine.
This is beyond the pale. This is just gone. I have never thrown a punch in my life, but I have trained for 10 years to be a sniper. But yet now I have like 8 actions around just kicking and punching. How?
Again, I will say that combat is already so crunchy in this game that the mentality was let's at least make it simple. Let's simplify it where we can. And I really think that their heart was in the right place on this one, even if that drives me crazy. Now, you could always house rule it. I mean, it's a role-playing game. You can house rule whatever you want. Would I? I don't know. Like, I would have to see how the rest of it goes, because if I have to start doing that with all the NPCs too, that might just be too much. So,
well, you know what I would do to house rule this to make it easy? It's your agility. Shut up. That's it. Just agility. Skills don't matter.
Then nobody would ever have 8 attacks?
And that's it.
Nobody'd ever have 8 attacks around then?
Well, a Scissor Axe might.
That's going to make combat a lot harder. I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with you. Just say that would make combat a lot harder.
Easier.
So,
hey, you know what? You're everyone's going to get the body skills to raise agility.
So, talking about the Scissor Axe. Scissor Axe receive an additional 2 actions per combat round. However, you skip to the end. However, still limited to a maximum of 8 actions per combat round.
That's fine.
So that makes Scissor Axe great for low-level characters. pardon the term, level. But you know, once
your high mids or high level, then everyone's gonna have 8 actions anyway. So
yeah,
it's not
pretty much evens out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hank the human has an agility of 70. Consulting the number of actions agility table, we see that because Hank's agility is 75 or lower, he'd receive 2 actions every combat round. Next, we consult his combat skills. It just basically runs through how to do that. I thought we'd have to read that, but honestly, Heathen Dog.
Yeah, it pretty much did it. I mean, if you go to the top of that page, it'll show you if you have a combat skill of 1 through 4, you get 2 actions, 5 through 8, you get 4, 13 plus, you get 8. Higher.
So let's talk about, even though it's described later, let's talk about the whole all actions, half actions thing, okay?
Okay.
All actions means you're doing something that takes up the entire round. Essentially, that's a full round action for other games or whatever. It's just, you're focused on that one thing. It's taking the big tree trunk, spinning it around 4 times, and then smacking somebody in the face. Or it's wildfire, and hoping you hit something. Whatever.
Spray and pray. Got it.
Spray and pray, yeah. It takes up all. So what does it say here? If you have available, let's do 4. If you have 4 available actions, it's going to take 4. If you only have 3 actions left that round, you cannot do an action that takes all actions.
No. You can do a half action.
You can. And this is going to come into something that really drives me crazy in just a minute, when how you can combine single and half actions. Now, to do a half action, it would take up 2 of them. Heathen Dog, could you take a single action followed by a half action followed by another single action?
That would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So yes.
Yes, you can. I'll let you. I don't think it's here. I think it's going to be a little bit later. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit later where that drives me crazy. So what happens is half actions aren't penalized. They're penalized in a different way, and we'll get to that when we start talking about how to apply damage and hit locations and so forth. Single actions, the first shot is a normal shot. The second one, and it doesn't matter if you're punching, kicking, shooting, whatever. When I say shot, just imagine attack. Let me say the word attack. Okay, first attack is at 0 penalty. Sure. The second is at a minus 20% penalty. The third, minus what? No matter what.
No. Nope.
Okay, well, that's just saying that's the rules, and we'll get to that. The third attack is minus another 20, so minus 40. The fifth attack is whatever number I saw. But you see how it goes. 20 is 0, 20, 40, 60, until you no longer have percentage points left. Then you just literally can't use an action for an attack anymore. However, as we will see in a moment, half actions don't suffer that. So if you do a single action, half action, single action, you go from 0 to minus 20, back to 0 to minus 40 to minus 60.
Okay.
So, shows some things here. Typically, attribute checks are half actions. See, it even says here, a half action. I don't have a problem because the term is defined. Just write it consistently throughout your book. A free action. So, to think, apparently, you can think quickly. I'm glad you can, especially if you're a Mutzkin, right? Running, 0 actions. There's a small caveat to this. Move a distance equal to your character's run in meters. However, if you run more than half your movement, it negatively affects your attack rolls.
It says all their checks that combat round suffer a snapshot penalty.
If you move more than half of your movement rate, yes.
Okay.
So, sprint uses up all, and drop to the ground is half. Yeah, I mean, this all basic makes sense. The point that I'm just showing it off here is it just shows that, there you go. If you have want to know what certain actions are, here they are. You can look at it on page whatever that is, 125. Now, single actions are spent in combat to keep track of activities that occur over fractions of a second. Basically, if you're going pop, 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 each one of those shots is just a fraction of a second, right?
Sure.
And if you've got 4 action out now, how can Heathen Dog go pop, 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 pop 6 times? I think that was 5, but whatever. And Max can only go pop, pop. I only have 2 actions. What makes him so much better? Well, hopefully I acted that out pretty well there and kind of showed it. Heathen Dog's experience with his rifles or his agility and so forth can keep him on target to pull the trigger, where Max is shooting at the clouds. So, the actions do make sense for me because it shows,
No, I get it.
Your character gets more experience.
Hand and or training is going to get you to the point where you can pull the trigger faster than someone who doesn't have either of those things.
So Ravenslayer, sorry, I missed when this comment came in, but never use the terms attack of opportunities for me ever. Take back your 100 bits. I don't want them anymore.
You didn't mean that. You didn't mean that. He had a momentary lapse of judgment. No one gives away gifted money. Stop it.
But I mean, I think I know where he was talking about there. If he wants to explain that a little bit further, he can. But there aren't really attacks of opportunity that I've seen so far in this game. So when do you spend action? Okay, so single action, we already talked about that. Now half actions. Oh, and just to reiterate, single actions, again, start first attack is 0, second attack is -20, third attack, up until you either run out of attacks or you run out of percentages. Half actions. Some activities utilize half of your total actions available for the combat round. This the notation for tasks that require half of your actions is half. See, they defined it. Mm-hmm. This does not mean half of a single action, heathen dog.
I know.
It means half of your total actions.
Right.
If your character has already spent more, by the way, I that was me being a jerk right there. I stressed the word your because later on we're going to be stressing the word he, they, she, whatever. And it drives me crazy in this book. If your character has already spent more than half of his actions, he cannot perform a task with the half action. I mean, it's just math. If you have 4 actions and you've already used 3 of them, you don't have 2 left to use the half action.
It's not half remaining, it's half of the total.
I'm not putting that on the screen. We're just going on. So, Aaron the Eridani has 6 actions per combat round. In the current combat round, she has spent 3 actions to take out an enemy. Good job, Aaron. With her remaining 3 actions, she can still perform an activity that would consume half of her actions. If she uses one of her 3 remaining actions in the same combat round, she can no longer perform any activity that requires half her total action. So basically, if she takes another single action, that would be 4. She would no longer 6 minus 4 is 2. She needs 3 or more to do a half action. It should say a half action. God. Okay. All actions. Some activities use all of your actions for the combat round. The notation for activities that use all of your actions for the combat round is all. Look at that, all caps. If your character has already spent any of his actions, he cannot perform a task with the all actions notation. Duh. I mean, again, simple math. If you really break down some of what's written here, it's just simple math. Available actions reset each round. That's normal. Actions cannot be saved from. That's normal. Action table. Actions table in combat action lists how many of a character's actions various tasks require. So let's see if we can find that out. So if you want to draw a weapon, that's half your actions. There's a caveat to that, and it's not quick snapshot. Oh, quick draw. There is a quick draw. But you have to make an easy agility check. So what does an easy agility check mean? You remember? It's like -40 or something.
Check is 1 action?
But no, but easy, doesn't that mean like -40 or +40 or whatever?
It says a strength, mental defense, or agility attribute check. It says typically a half action.
What are you looking at?
The attribute and skill checks for the actions table. It doesn't say easy, medium, or hard or whatever.
No, there's like a little graph here. Hold on, I got my actual book open here. It's back in the skill section.
Oh, okay. I don't recall that. It's
a little kind of flowcharty looking thing. Skill description, volunteer specialization. Oh, there it is. So an easy action, it says here, default modifier is 40. Modifier range +50. So basically, +40 to the target number. So it makes it a lot easier. So if your target number already is, if your agility is, 50, that gives you a 90. Probably going to make it. But you still have to roll. But if you drop it, or if you fail, you drop it.
Oh.
So, quick draw and insert. Okay, now that's a little crazy. You could do all of that still with just one action?
I've seen it, yeah. I've seen
I've seen professional
like 0.05 second difference between drawing a weapon and drawing a weapon,
and these are Battlelords after all.
Yeah, I mean,
wow,
it can be done.
It is raining. I've got a monsoon going outside.
Yeah, your wife said it was raining earlier in the stream.
Oh, did she? I don't read what she writes. All right. So anyway, you can see the different things. So to throw a grenade is half action. Why do you think that takes a half action?
Because you have to pull the pin, you have to wait 5 seconds, and you got to throw it. That's how grenades work.
Or just throwing a bottle. You're usually not just grabbing a bottle and flinging it. You're like, it's still a little bit of time consuming. Follow through, so on and so forth. Look, and it's a simple game rule. Let's be honest. It's just a simple game rule.
Okay, switching fire mode is free. That's good. I like that.
Yes.
It only takes a thumb.
Switching fire mode is free, but not switching ammunition type.
Select ammunition and weapon with multiple ammunition types. That doesn't make sense either, because that should also be a simple thumb hit or a finger hit. That
my assumption,
that will be able to do.
This is just an assumption. I haven't read this yet. Is that this game doesn't treat it like that, like as in it's one weapon with 2 different pods of ammunition. I picture it as literally slapping the magazine out, flipping it around, putting it back in. Yeah, when people claim the Rift combat is convoluted, just hand them Battlelords and tell them to compare. Side note, Kevin Sambita, I hope I said his name right, was I watched a live stream with him yesterday from Gen Con, where he kind of named his heir apparent, who writes a lot for Savage Worlds riffs. And I'm just going to say openly, there's a Savage Worlds Battlelords. I don't get it. It's like there's a Pathfinder Earth Dawn and there's a Savage Worlds Earth Dawn. No, Earth Dawn is Earth Dawn. If you want to run your world in some other system, that's fine. Run your world in some other system.
That's what GURPS is for. Shut up.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, I don't care. Savage Worlds can be for that as well, but it's not Battlelords because it changes the feel. If you've ever dealt with Savage Worlds Rifts, it does not feel the same. Sure, it's still the same generic world, but we can call any world whatever world we want. Well, I run Earth Dawn Dungeons and Dragons, whatever. I don't like. Stop it. Stay true to your game and your system. It's like when Bessem, Big Eyes Small Mouths. Well, we're going to do Bessem 5e. I mean, that's for money. I get that, but it's going to have a completely different feel to it. This tri-stat rolling system mechanics lend to a certain feel of the game. So I don't like that. I'm not saying I don't like the guy that's running it or that's part of it, but I just don't like Savage Worlds Rifts or Savage Worlds Earth Dawn. It just doesn't make sense to me.
All right. Yeah, I have a problem with the whole switching with multiple ammunition types because it's the future. I don't think that you have to flip a magazine over to get a different type. I think it's a knob or a switch on the weapon itself.
Maybe for like a laser type weapon, but if you're still throwing slugs out there.
Well, no, I mean, like I said, future weapon, what the fuck?
I can't see those.
The literal worst of the Avengers. He has a palm thing that he can do on his bow to switch his ammo types in his
superheroes
quiver.
Versus gritty lizard people shooting.
Battlelords. They are superheroes.
No, they don't. No, a rank 1, whatever. I just started off. Give me the Battlelord patch because I passed AIT is not that good.
It's better than your average Marine.
Marines. That was him.
Hey, you know what? Sorry, Marines. Compared to the Army, you're a bunch of fumbling children.
Wow. As somebody who worked for the Marines, I have thoughts, but we're gonna move on. What I said, there are 3 types of Marines. There's the slave driver Marine, there's the slave Marine, and there's the Marine that's trying to get out.
No, you forgot one type.
What?
Which is the most prominent type. The dead by dumb Marine.
Yeah, that's the slave.
Well, no. I mean, actually dead because they were dumb.
People say, I used to work with the Marines. Half of them barely knew. Look, the Marines eat crayons. We all know that. Actually, my former supervisor, where I just came from in Germany, was a Marine, and that dude was amazing. So there are some really good Marines out there.
Yeah, well, you know what? There's always a diamond in the rough.
Yeah, but they do eat crayons.
Okay, let's talk about attacking actions. It's got an asterisk on it. Some melee weapons and range weapons
are
may be incapable of making single strike, single shot, combo.
You've got to tell me what page you're on. God damn it!
I'm right after you. I'm right where we were.
Right here?
Yeah, single strike. No.
This is where I was sitting for about 10 minutes.
Combat rules. We were going through the combat rules, drawing weapons, drawing an insert fresh magazine, talking about ammunition types.
What page are you on? Oh, we're still at the chart? I've been on the chart for a while.
7, yes. We haven't gone through the chart. This is where you find your -20 cumulative penalty for each attack after the first. A D6 is used for a hit location. This is why am I seeing a term that hasn't been defined yet? That I saw it with half action and action. I saw the term before it was defined for me. That's stupid.
Well, the chart location, and I think I mentioned this to you off, or maybe I didn't. Maybe I just mentioned it to my coworker. The chart locations, these charts right here and tables, are sometimes in really weird spots. Like this one up here. Why do I have all of these action things? And now you start talking about
exactly that seems
points.
to be a running problem with this book. It's giving us terms and definitions that haven't actually defined yet or explained.
One of them actually ran over a laptop with an APC. That's fine. They're probably trying to DRMO that thing.
Bumping. I've heard of bumping a whole lot. It hasn't been explained yet.
That one was a big one. I talked to you about that last week. Yeah. That one bothered me a lot. It's like there's a big red thing talk about offensive bumping, and not only was the term, in skills, not only was the term not described, didn't even point to a page number of where it is in the book.
Nope.
Which, by the way, we will get to that today.
Wait. Combo? Hand-to-hand and melee weapon.
Yep. We'll get to all that.
Action, D10 or ROFD with range weapon used for hit location. If using a range weapon, it must have burst value. Get it. Called shots prohibited. Get it.
Well, wait. Do you get it? Stop. You get it because you played games before. But do you get it? Burst action. I'm a page after you. Now we talk about burst action. It's a quibble more than really something, oh my God, bad, but it does show that there's consistently inconsistency with this. Wow, consistently inconsistent. I'll learn English later with a lot of how this book is put together. But to assuage Heathen Dog here, let's talk about single strike. I mean, I already defined it, but now we finally get to it in the book. Good?
Okay.
All right. So by spending a single action, a character may strike once in hand-to-hand combat. If the melee weapon requires half of your actions to attack, now here we go. A character may strike half of your actions. Stay consistent. That's not consistent. If the melee weapon requires half of the character's actions, oh, there we go. Now it's consistent. To attack, the character, the character can still choose this option, but it costs half of the actions to make a single attack. If the melee weapon requires all actions to attack, the character can still choose this option, but it costs all the actions to make a single attack. It's just redefining single. The only three types you have to understand are single, half, all. You've got those down, and then we'll get to combos in a moment. Okay. See, I teach you English. Yeah, see, my Japanese wife knows some of this stuff better than. So, single shot. By spending a single action, you can fire a single shot. Hey, that makes sense, doesn't it?
Yep.
All right, can we skip that part and go down here? So here's the example. So we already know that. Let's read the example. Let me slow down, and let's read the example. Click the Keen decides he wants to attack Floyd the Fot. I love some of these names sometimes. Floyd. Yeah, hey there, my name. Oh no, I was going to do a Uper accent. Whatever. Step 1 is to determine if Floyd is in range. Floyd is 30 meters away, which is firmly in the middle range of bracket 4. We'll get to brackets.
Again, they're giving examples of things they haven't explained yet. Awesome.
For this instance, I kind of understand it. Otherwise, you're going to be defining everything before you can have literally any example. But right, yeah. Click's weapon will reach range 4 bracket, so Floyd is in range. So if his weapon only would go to range 3, he could not shoot, and it would have a line in it and say, nope, cannot do it. The weapon has an accuracy of 30 in the range 4 bracket. So step 2 is to select the proper weapon skill. This is a laser rifle, so he'll need to use his weapon beam skill. Click has a manual dexterity of 40. What page is this anyway?
And 6 levels of weapon beam skill, so 30. So 40 divided by 2 is 20, plus 30 is 50.
Balls. We're on 128? Oh, well. Okay. Sorry, I have my book down here, and I had some notes about the other page. But we're past it, so we'll move on. So, as Heathen Dog here said, so it's always your attribute, or vital statistic as it's called in this game, divided by 2. 6 levels, 6 times 5. Do you remember that from skills? Heathen Dog just mentioned it, but let's identify ourselves where we talked about that.
Got it.
Skills. Plus,
adding the range bracket
yep,
accuracy, which is 30.
right.
And
So
that's how you get to 80%.
80%.
If he was closer to Floyd, or if Click was closer to Floyd, then he would have a lower range bracket and therefore a higher bonus to accuracy. Further away, the opposite is true.
And that just makes sense. Now, this number might look kind of high, but think about this. You're talking a trained soldier in an Battlelord and you're only talking one shot. And we'll get to what happens with all and, burst and wildfire and so forth later. The first shot Click makes will have an 80% chance to hit. Since he's making multiple single action attacks, each following shot will incur a negative 20 penalty. Well, now it starts to make a little bit more sense as the recoil of the rifle. I personally feel that 20 is a bit high.
Yes.
But let's go with it. That's what the rules of the game are for now. Oh, which is cumulative. That means the second shot will have a 60% chance to hit. Third will have 40. His fourth and final shot will have a 20% chance to hit for Floyd.
He says it's final because it doesn't matter how many actions Click has. After that, he'll have 0% chance to hit. Therefore, he cannot take it. He cannot take that action.
Correct. Exactly. Click's player rolls a 57, 50, 82, and 68 in that order. He hits with the first and second shots, but misses with the third. Third and fourth shots, because this is above the 40% chance.
Yeah.
Or 20% chance that he actually had. Click's player rolls a d6 to determine where the shots landed. He rolls a 2 and a 2. Both shots hit Floyd in the torso, which we will get to in a moment. There is a damage chart that we'll get to in a bit.
Modifier type thing.
Oh, yeah. Well,
it gets worse. All right.
No. It's we'll cover it. It's just you either hit the head, the legs, the arm, whatever, and 2 is center mass.
Okay.
It's just I have some issues with how it's handled. And to be fair, I don't remember how it was handled in previous editions, so I'm not comparing it to anything other than how I would do it. So half of all actions, by spending half of all actions, the character can launch a flurry of attacks or shots. The downside of making so many rapid attacks in such a short time span is that the shots are less tightly grouped. Now, here's the thing. Let's use this Click for a second. He took 4, just pop, 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 right? I don't know. So he has 4 actions to spend. Let's just arbitrarily say that he does the half action instead. He had 4 shots, had to roll 4 times, each with a minus 20, right?
Each after the first, yes.
Right. Good correction. Here, it's just 1 roll. So what makes half actions worse? Like, why would you not want to do it? And we'll get to it in a moment, but I'll tell you right now, it has to do with where the shots hit. 1, the grouping, as mentioned here, but you can literally miss after hitting with the half actions.
What?
Also, you cannot make called shots when making an attack that uses half of the actions, but may bump shots, which
Still don't know what that means.
It's changing the damage location. Spoiler alert, which we'll get to. But you're right. This should have at least been to the most minimum level defined previous to this.
50 pages ago, I was first introduced to it, and then haven't explained it yet.
Even if it was just to say, here's the page, or bumping shots allows you to move damage location. We'll get into that later. Something.
That's
yeah.
Have an idea of what the hell you're talking about. That'd be great.
Right. So by spending half of the character's actions, a character may make a number of attacks equal to the half of their. So look, if you've got 4 actions and you want to take a half action, you're using 2 of them. There you go, math. We already talked about that. A single skill check is made for the combo. Now, before, there are 6 locations, right, to hit on the body. Heathen Dog's like, I don't know, because I haven't been shown this. Well, you're right, Heathen Dog, you haven't. Just go with me on this. There are 6 locations.
Okay.
Now you're rolling a d10 to determine the hit locations. That means, and any result higher than a 6 misses. So that's how this changes up the whole, like, you don't have minus percentage, but if you're on burst mode, okay, maybe you wouldn't get 3 of those in a round, but my point being, you're on burst mode, you got the recoil and so forth affecting the weapon. Well, now the first shot might hit no problem, The second one you roll a 10 on, you missed by 4, so because 1 through 6 means you hit a part of the body, 7, 8, 9, 10 means the shot goes over or around that part of the body, whatever.
Okay.
Hand-to-hand techniques and melee weapons that require half or all actions cannot be used to make combo attacks. These weapons and hand-to-hand techniques are too slow or unwieldy to make combo attacks. Did we skip combo attacks? I'm sorry. Oh. Yeah, you'll see. I do not like this example, and I'm going to tell you right now, when we get to it, I would not allow this in the game. Don't care if it's core to the game. Heathen Dog can yell at me. Burst. So we're talking about burst actions. By spending half of the character's actions, same thing. Now, the weapons Q, what is Q?
The amount of ammo you have.
There you go. Good job.
No, but I haven't explained it. I had to infer that.
Actually, I think it did somewhere. I think I overlooked it. I did see when I was reading through the book, Q was defined.
Yeah, it's probably later.
I think it was earlier, but if Heathen Dog's right, it's bad editing. If I'm right, then it's okay because it was defined earlier. We just skipped it anyway. Whether the shots hit the target or not. So basically, if you're firing a 3-round burst, your Q is 3. Guess what? You lost 3 ammo. I mean, you don't get to fake ammunition. You don't have imaginary ammunition when you fire burst rounds. And yes, this game does require you to keep track of your ammunition because it is a military style gritty game. A single skill check is made for the burst. The ROFD. So the ROF was the rate of fire die listed for the weapon to determine the hit location of each shot. Any shot higher than a 6 misses. So some will say D8, some will say D10. A D8 means you have it's more accurate weapon. A D10 means stuff's going everywhere.
It's average, and it says sometimes there's a D12.
Yeah,
because it's a piece of crap pipe gun, whatever.
Yeah, D12 is So he's not skipping ahead here, but it was a good skip. So. All right, so we've got another example here. This is the example I don't agree with.
Okay.
I think it is. Yes. Click the Keen is unhappy with the results of popping off. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This isn't. Yeah, I don't like this example either. But Click the Keen is unhappy with the results of popping off individual shots at Floyd. The next combat round, he takes a free action to switch the weapon from semi-automatic burst mode. So no action, just goes click and just starts firing. No problem there, right? So he rolls. So we'll skip this first start because it's all the same. Step 3 is determine how many actions Clicks is going to spend. This time he's going to spend a half action, not half of all his action. Why can't you just say a half action and be consistent?
Because you capitalized it. It's a defined term.
Yes, you can just say a half. Yeah, okay. Which is 2 actions to fire the burst at Floyd. The laser he's using has a burst value of 2. Click has an 80% chance to hit.
What the hell's the burst value?
Has an 80% chance to hit Floyd in range bracket 4s, as before. Remember, no penalty. There's no minus 20 on top of that for the second, third, whatever, but that's because it changes to this ROFD thing. His chance to hit with both shots for the burst is the same, yes. In addition, only 1 attack roll is made. You just said that. You just said it a second time for no reason. Okay. Click rolls a 56 and hits with the burst. Good job, Click. The downside to firing a burst is that the shots are less tightly grouped. Click's player rolls a D8 instead of a D6. So can you imagine what happens if Click rolls to hit, rolls at 56, gets a hit, and then rolls an 8 and a 7?
It means he actually didn't hit.
Right. Rolls a D8 instead of D6 to determine where the shots landed because there are 2 shots. He rolls a 5 and an 8. What happened? 1 shot hit.
Rolls a 5 and an 8.
Yeah, 5 and 8.
One and miss the other.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to say you could technically. My example is you could technically miss, even though you hit. Which I don't have a problem with. The point, it's just a different system, vice the minus 20. If I remember correctly, and somebody who's played the previous editions can correct me if I'm wrong, the previous editions actually did do a minus percentage, and it slowed the game down greatly. I could be wrong on that one. I just seem to remember a whole ton of dice going on and trying to figure out what hit what. Click decides to fire a second burst this combat round with his remaining 2 actions. You can do that with 2 half actions in a round, right? Half and half as a whole. Why not, right?
Yep.
He still has an 80% chance to hit. Remember, when you do single actions, it goes down by 20%. So the first single action, normal. Second single action, minus 20. That does not happen with half actions. So 2 half actions, it's still 80% chance and 80% chance. rolls a 34 hitting. He rolls a D8 for locations, gets a 1 and a 7. Once again, 1 strikes the head, the 7 misses. So what was this one? A 5 and an 8? What was the 5?
So
he
hit twice and missed twice, which is the exact same thing that he did when he shot 4 times single shot. He missed 2 and hit 2.
Yes. So this is left leg and this is head. So, all right. So Max, cheerleader outfit is okay, but no speed. What? What are you talking? What? You know what? I'm not reading chat. Let me go over here. To here, so that I can tell you all to subscribe, like, and share for me not reading chat. Heathen Dog can put it on the screen if he thinks it sufficiently mocks me.
Okay.
Actually, this wasn't the one I disagreed with. It's the next one I disagree with. Kitty the Scissor X is in range bracket 1 and wants to attack Fred the Ram with her claws. Kitty has 6 actions and spends half her actions to attack Fred with a combo. Kitty's player makes a single hand-to-hand combative skill and is successful. She must now roll 3 hit locations using a D10. You get that? Half of the actions are 3 of the 6, but rolling a D10 because that's just what it is. Combo because it's a combo
that she's using. Yeah,
because it's a combo. All right. So there's no bumping when it comes to a single strike. Did you know that? Sorry, I'm gonna rub that in. Splitting. This is splitting single actions with a half action. I'm just gonna tell you, don't do this in my games unless somebody can convince me why it should be able to be done this way. No. Let me rephrase that. I don't mind the splitting. I don't like how it's identified here. So a character has 8 actions, and the character spends a single action to make a hand-to-hand attack with no penalty, then spends a half action to fire a burst from pistol. So punch, 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 punch in a round. Even though these last 3 single actions are separated from the first single attack action by the burst, still occur in the same combat round or subject to the cumulative -20 after the first action. Here's my rule that I would tell you. Take all your single actions first, then do your burst, or do your burst first, then do all your single actions. I'm not going to let you split it up this way. This is getting a little too meta for me. What are your thoughts?
I completely understand the -20% for each shot taken with a weapon that has recoil. I completely understand it. I can wrap my head around it. Everything's fine.
Okay.
Hand-to-hand combat, I got a problem. I got a problem because if you have finished training in hand-to-hand combat, you should not have a -20, -40, -60 because you want to punch 4 times. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Theoretically, I agree with you. I don't
they want to make it across the board to make it simple. It just makes it stupid.
I don't want to say I disagree. I don't disagree. Where I understand the concept is you would really just give people with extra actions the win. Extra actions should be a bonus and a benefit, not a win. Either that or they'd have to tone the actions down by half. You couldn't have 8 actions in a round. You'd have to max out at 5, 4, something like that. Or really just become, what do they call that in 5th edition? Action economy. It would just turn into an action economy system. So philosophically and theoretically, I 100% agree with Heathen Dog. Game mechanic wise, I think I agree with the way they did this here. Or the other caveat, how about this, Heathen Dog? Do the D10 thing. Say there's no penalty, but now because you used half of your actions, we're going to treat it like it's a half action and have you roll a D8, D10, D12. Your shot could potentially miss. I'm just throwing that out. What do people in chat think? I mean, you go ahead and read chat while I'm moving forward here. And
so wait, instead of having the -20, -40, -60, etc. After the first shot, it goes from a D6 to a D8. After the second shot, it goes to D10. After the third shot, it goes to D12.
No, I wouldn't say after the third shot. I would either A, just keep it 1 die throughout, kind of like they do with the half actions. Well, again, for consistency's sake. Or I would treat it like for a single, it's a D6. For up to half, it's a D8. And for after half to all, it's a D10. I think that might become too much, but the caveat being is at least then it's consistent with the other types of attack in the game.
Yeah.
The burst and the half and the all. My only real complaint about this, first of all, like I said, this is too meta for me. You can either do your burst first and then all your single actions, or your single action first, then your burst. I'm not going to let you go single, burst, single. I'm just not going to let you do that because you're breaking my brain. But for consistency's sake, I could say, you know what? I want all the combat to be the same so that the players aren't struggling with this. So let's just use this D8, D10 ROFD thing throughout. I don't know. So I will let for melee keep it consistently the same. Ravenslayer says. Anybody else? Misa says he's not paying attention. Okay.
There
you go.
Fine. Yeah, that's fine. But I get it. Keep it the same as for guns, even though guns and punching and kicking are two entirely different things. But that's fine.
I mean, the game's already pretty crunchy. Do you want to add more to it?
I mean, there were a bunch of other ways you could have simplified combat, and you chose to die on this hill. Come on, there's lots of bigger hills to die on than this one.
This is not difficult for me. I don't have a problem with it. I see Heathen Dog's point, and I don't think he's wrong at the same time. So I'm riding the fence. I'm a dirty fence sitter on this one. So let's look at this chart real quickly. So if you do a single strike, it's just one action, right? That's how many actions you spend. Yeah. The penalty to hit is -20 after the first. Hit die is D6. Why? And we'll show you later. I still struggle when I see hit die. Like, what do you mean? Right?
Hit die has nothing to do with body points at all. It's where it's location hit.
It should be hit location.
If they put location hit die in there, everything would be fine.
Location die, hit location, something. See, I'm a BattleTech player, so hit location is what Okay, restriction, no bumping. Hey, Heathen Dog, you can't bump. And number of attacks made one per single action. Now over here for your half actions, you combo your burst, combo for melee, burst for weapons, right? It's a half action. Penalty hit is none, but you're rolling a D10 or D10 for melee, or whatever the ROFD is, rate of fire damage. Rate
of fire die for a ranged weapon.
Die, is it die? You're right, die. Restrictions, no called shots. Well, I mean, that kind of makes sense. If you're trying to do a burst fire, you got that recoil and things going on. Now, I think Heathen is going to say, why can't you do that with a laser? I don't know.
I don't know. Hey, you know what? I don't know what kind of lasers you're talking about here. Is it a particle beam? If it's a particle beam, that means you're actually shooting mass out of the front, which means you're going to have recoil. Is it like a laser? Then no, you just hold the trigger down and there's no recoil. You could just stay on target.
Chad is talking about alcohol, so all right. we'll keep talking about a game.
Your wife, the alky, got them all talking about.
Nice. Good job distracting. Hey, but I'm seeing chat move. That's all I care about. Chat's moving. People are talking. I'm happy. You don't have to listen to us. That's for YouTube later. Anyway, equal to weapons burst value, which we'll see later. All right. Well, in the weapon descriptions, I get it.
Right.
You know what would have been really cool, though, is if they would have put one weapon description up in here. For example, this burst weapon that this click is using or whatever, here are the stats for the weapon. That's what I do in my examples for my game, by the way.
Okay,
all right.
Chain combo or full auto.
Yeah.
Action spent all, penalty to hit none.
Mm-hmm.
Location hit die, D10 or the ROFD for ranged weapon. Restriction, no called shots. Equal number of actions spent, which is all of them. Number of attacks made equal to the weapon's full value.
Okay.
Wait, what? What?
Wait, what did you say?
Okay.
Equal to weapon's full. Okay, so full is a defined term that we'll define in a minute.
Oh, fuck!
So, Dead Red Herring says, Legion Myth, I like crunchy system, but this game is very convoluted for its look, combat isn't hard in this game. In fact, this is what I want to tell everybody. We're mocking the book, but we're specifically mocking the editing of the book. Okay? Specifically mocking the editing. Play it. If you like, especially if you like crunchy systems, I think you will like it. Look, I am going to be out front here. I like Battlelords of the 23rd century. Else I would have quit this entire series and segment after last week. And I said, hey, Heathen Dog, let's move on to Castles and Crusades 8th printing. I want this game to be liked by people. I want this game to be enjoyed. But when you write a book like this, that I remind you, I spent $60 freaking on.
That's really what's happening. You're pushing through because you spent $60 on this, and by God, you're going to make it a write-off.
Right? Oh, I forget. No, I can't make it a write-off. I bought the book before I was an LLC. I bought the book almost 2 years ago. Remember when I said that this was the first book that I bought that flamboozled me? Because when I read the example pages, it didn't say they, them in the singular nonsense.
Sure.
And then I got the book. I was like, oh. So, all right. So chain combo by spending all the character's actions. So for hand-to-hand techniques or melee weapons that require half of all actions, only 2 attacks are made during the chain combo. Again, it's simple math. This paragraph is not needed, but I like it here. It's one of those things like, just to remind you, if you have any complaints or questions about, wait a minute, this is a combo, but this is a half combo. You get 2 halves in a whole. Always remember, you get 2 halves in a whole. And I've seen people argue the dumbest stuff in Dungeons & Dragons and other games, so I think this is a needed paragraph.
So wait a minute. For hand-to-hand techniques or melee weapons that require half of all actions, only 2 attacks are made. Okay, I get that. Yeah, fine. But a chain combo
can only be done in the same round. So that's why all actions cannot be used to make a chain combo attack. You can't change. So I always use the example of, I've got a big tree trunk, a Final Fantasy tree trunk. I'm trying to spin it around so I can hit somebody. It's going to take all 10 seconds before I can pick it up and clobber you in the face. You can't chain that because it's an all action.
Okay.
Okay. So fully automatic barrage. By spending all the character's actions, character may fire a number of shots equal to the weapon's full value. Hey, look at this. You didn't say there. You wrote this sentence correctly.
Yeah, but I don't know what full value means yet.
A quick example, but
no. I've inferred it.
Yeah.
Each weapon has a maximum number of rounds per combat round it can fire.
Right. What I want to caution
in one round.
Yes, and it has a value.
It's going to be single, half, and full. They're going to have 3 numbers, and I imagine that's how it's going to be. But again, I have to imagine it again because they're giving me terms they haven't defined yet. Actually, there's Q again. Do I know what Q is yet? Not really.
So one of the things I want to caution for both of us, I'm trying, I think Heathen Dog might be trying, is not getting hung up on the same thing over and over again in terms of this.
I wish it would stop happening.
Yeah, me too. The full value, yeah. Because in every game we play, some things aren't defined. The problem with this one is literally nothing's defined.
Nothing has been defined yet. No, we haven't gotten any definitions of anything.
Like, it would have been nice if up in here, when we're talking the burst fire, it's like, give me the weapon stats. Well, or at least give me the weapon stats so I can see it. That's, by the way, with the examples I've done in my game, that's how I've done it. If I haven't defined it yet, or even a lot of times, even if I did, just for putting everything in one spot, I put all the relevant information, boom. So he's using a weapon with this damage, with this, blah, 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 and then it goes. So, not saying I did it right. Hopefully people, hey, you know what? Hopefully my editor picks apart my book like we're picking apart this one.
Yep.
I always want to say Red Dead Redemption. Dead Red Herring. Yes. And this is why I want people to give it the benefit of the doubt. Okay. If the character's using a ranged weapon that has minus listed for its full, then, but that's just typical distinction of any game ever.
It means it cannot be fired at full barrage. Got it.
If you ever see this for any listing ever, not just for full, it probably can't be done.
Okay.
All right. So, do we need to read all these examples? I think people can read that on their own.
Yeah.
Okay. Combat modifiers. Now, we want to talk about some of the modifiers in this game. You know what I was really surprised about? That this game didn't have 4006 modifiers, because I think the previous versions did. Aim shot. If the character spends a half action, the chance to hit at all range brackets increases by 10%. For the next shot. That is such an important thing to remember.
Yeah. Not all the shots, just the next one.
Right. If the character spends 2 consecutive half actions, what does that mean?
That's all actions.
All actions. The character gets a 20% bonus to the next shot he makes.
Okay, stop. Hang on. Let me read ahead a second before I yell.
Okay. What are you looking for?
Hang on. I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt.
Remember, this is going to be a YouTube video. People want to hear stuff.
Okay, benefit of the doubt has been destroyed. Okay, here we go. Nowhere in the whole aim shot, all the paragraphs, I skimmed it. Nowhere in it can I see that the aim only counts for what you're aiming at. So technically, by the rules, I could aim at Joe for 2 half actions, and my next round, when I go, I could shoot Bill and still get a plus 20% bonus.
I think
It does not designate.
I don't think it needs to.
That your next shot has to be at what you were aiming at before to get the bonus. It never says that. It says you have to aim at something and then shoot.
Personally, I would say that's a common sense thing that doesn't need to be written in.
I would say too, but this game has not been common sense so far. So I don't know where you're getting that idea. That
if the character spends actions to do any other activity between aiming and attacking, you kind of have to read through the lines there. I'm not hurt over that simply because the fact that I would just
changing targets is not even listed as a free action. So let alone it's not an action. So it is not an action. So I can change targets all day as long as my next action is firing.
I thought I read that
plus 20% bonus.
Actually, I thought I read something, maybe it was later when I was reading the actual book, that changing a target did.
We haven't seen it yet.
Bump after. Okay, well, we'll get to. I could have sworn when I read at some point in the book, maybe it was when I was reading at 2 a.m.
Aim shot. If the character spends half their action aiming, they get a plus 10% bonus to the next shot they make with a ranged weapon. If the character spends 2 consecutive half actions, meaning all their actions, they get a 20% bonus to the next shot they make with a ranged weapon. A max bonus of 20% can be achieved through aiming. That means aiming for another half action isn't going to do anything. A maximum bonus, a character must spend an action or actions to attack immediately after spending half or all actions to aim.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, the bonus is lost. If the character spends actions to do any other activity between aiming and attacking, the aim shot bonus is lost. That means as long as your next anything you do is considered any kind of action that is not shooting, you lose aiming.
Mm-hmm.
Unless changing your initial target is any kind of action, even a free action is still defined as an action, I get the bonus for whatever. I can aim at the flagpole for 5 seconds and then change target, shoot Joe, plus 20%.
I'm going to house rule that and say no and move on. It's going to be that simple, like no. And I would actually say that if you were to switch, let's say you forgot to switch your weapon from burst to single shot, and you start to aim. No, it's free action.
Yeah, it's called an action though, right?
Nope.
It's called an action.
It's a free action. Nope.
Nope. I'm sorry, man. You're having trouble with English today. Let me help you out.
No, I'm not having any trouble with English. It's a free
action.
Free is 0. Means it literally takes no time, no effort at all.
Free is capital. Look it up. Scroll up. Free is not small f, it's capital F, capital A. It is a term.
Mm-hmm.
Action. Free action, half action, and full action are descriptions of the word action. And it says if you do any other action besides fire, you lose the bonus.
Once again, like we did last week, for the people who are watching this, if you actually made it this far, somehow made it this far, what do you think? I would say that if you forgot to go from burst to there you go, like, subscribe, and share. If you forgot to go from burst to single and just do that, you're aiming, you go, oh shit, click, and then now you're bam. I wouldn't take that away.
I would, but by the rules of the game, you have to take away the 20% bonus.
I wouldn't.
I know you wouldn't. It's fine.
All right, brace shot. Bracing your weapon against solid or immobile object increases. This is basically like just doing anything. You resting it on a platform or whatever, bipod, tripod. Because it actually does say that.
I use chairs, but yeah.
Shares, there you go. Use shares. Hardcover. What I do like, this is a really good sentence here. Hardcover may or may not actually conceal a target. There is a difference between cover and concealment. A lot of games forget that.
Hardcover generally means hardcover is not able to be shot through. Soft cover is able to be shot through.
Well, my thing is
conceal visual aspects of the target.
No. Cover does not.
I said that's what's common in real life, not in this game, because this game apparently.
You're actually wrong on this one.
There's no objective option about real life anywhere in it.
No, you're actually wrong on this one. Cover has nothing to do with concealment. Everybody who's gone through combat training learns that. Cover has nothing to do with concealment.
What does it have to do with then?
Cover is your protection. So if I'm standing behind a bulletproof plexiglass window that is perfectly clear, I have no concealment, but I have all types of cover.
Okay.
So that's I wanted to correct that part of it, because cover and concealment are different. I like the fact that that's indicated right here. Now, everything else after that you're going for, just cover and concealment are two different things. Okay, so actually, for example, a sheet of bulletproof glass, I didn't even, okay, there you go. It's right there. I don't remember reading this yesterday, but maybe I did. It was 2 a.m. Hardcover only results in a hit penalty if the attacker is trying to shoot at portions. Okay, so let's skip through some of this. We're just going to say that these modifiers exist now. Using two-handed weapons with one hand, reduce your chance hit by 50%. So unless you're a Ram Python, don't do that.
Got it.
Snapshot is a 40% penalty to your chance to hit, and is incurred in the following circumstances right there. Also, it's up here where it talks about
it talks about quick shot or whatever. Yeah.
I mean, we don't have to read everything word for word.
Yeah, No. If you don't have the quick draw skill and you want to do a quick draw, Wild West type bullshit, okay, corral, strike at noon type thing, you're going to be a minus 40% to your first shot. I get it.
And Mar Hawkman hits the nail on the head.
Concealment. Well, then what's soft cover? Is that just concealment?
Well, soft cover in hard cover basically means you need something pretty big to get through it. Like a cinder block is, well, it's a tow round. So, yeah. So here are modifiers: aim shot per half, max 20, brace shot, hard cover. Here we go. So it starts. You can. We don't need to go through all of these. Hey, you lose a bump. Did you know that?
I don't know what bump. You son of a bitch.
The thing is, I do know it because I read it yesterday. But
nobody here besides you knows what the fuck bumps are yet.
I know
they're everywhere now.
Target size. So as you can see, there are a lot of modifiers in this game.
Yep.
A lot of them. Minus 90 to hit somebody in the eye. You know what I found funny about all these called shots? When people be like, oh my God, look at all these percentages for called shots. Just so you know, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be shooting people wearing armor. You don't care about the called shot. You just want to hit the summit. So, all right. Weapon rifle, weapon pistol. Don't ask me why. Cover material, structural integrity, which, oh, by the way, what has not been defined yet because we haven't talked about armor?
Structural integrity, or THR. I have no idea what those two terms are, but the book might decide to tell me something.
No. Actually, I read that yesterday. I don't remember what it is, but I read that yesterday.
Yeah, later probably, because we haven't read it yet today.
Yeah. I got past this section reading. I got up until electronic countermeasure, and that's when I stopped reading. Okay, target is prone. So attacking prone target, basically if you're right next to him, you get a bonus, but if it's further away, you don't. That's one of the things you're taught, at least we were taught. I was in the Air Force in the 90s, went to combat training, and we were taught that, when you run forward, then you lay down on the ground and you roll one way or the other, and that's to make it harder to hit you. Target stationary, moving targets, called shots, lighting, smoke fog. You got all these different things. I like wind. I wouldn't have it affect anything other than snipers personally, or unless you're on, what is it? Is it the Chitillian planet?
RB8 or whatever it is.
Yeah, was it the Chitillian planet that was like all just wind, or was it the
No, it was the one that has like normal 200-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah. So target silhouetted, that's interesting. I mean, again, it comes from a military type game background. Called shots, etc. Okay, here's your diagram. Are you ready? I have a problem with this diagram. You can't see it in this version of it, though. It'll be the next version of it that you'll see. First of all, I don't like the fact that it's a 1 in 6 chance to hit the head. Now, I understand if you make a called shot, but what I would have preferred to see is a D8 or maybe even a D10 and have the vast majority.
Have the ding ding in there?
What's that? No, the center mass. Have center mass be like, 2
More
through 4.
Right.
Things like that, especially when it comes to the next version of the chart. And I'm going to show you something I really disagree with. But for simplicity's sake, I get why it's like this, and let's move on. Did you know this? Actually, I'd probably use BattleTech rules. Roll 2d6 instead of 1d6, and you have to roll boxcars in order to get the head. This is your 7, etc. But I don't know. Arms, if you got a Fentari or Keen, we have extra arms. You still only have the 1 arm here. You just roll high-low to see if you hit the upper right. Yeah, there you go. Bumping.
Oh
hey,
God, bumping shots. I can now know what this means.
Would you like to read, or do you want me to explain it?
I would love to read this.
Okay, Heathnug's going to read this one.
All right, bumping shots, aka offensive bumps. The downside to making a flurry of attacks by spending half or all your actions is that the shots tend to be less tightly grouped. You're not making careful aim with each shot, and you can't make called shots. This is why the hit location die used increases in size when spending half or all your actions to make multiple attacks. However, more skilled characters can obtain tighter groups when making these attacks. This is represented by the game mechanic called bumping.
Stop. And stop. Weren't you taught even in old like 7th grade grammar that you always identify your points in the first paragraph?
Yep.
It still hasn't explained bumping to you.
Nope.
It's only said, hey, in a game, things can happen.
Yep. The number of bumps, which I still don't really know what it is, you get depends on how skilled you are with a weapon you are using or to attack, or your hand-to-hand combative skills if you're attacking empty-handed. If the weapon or hand-to-hand combative skill the character is using is 6 to 10, they get 1 bump, 11 to 15 get 2. As a result, the number of bumps your character receives may change depending on what weapon they're using. If they have 11 levels of weapon melee sword and 6 levels of weapon beam, they would get 2 bumps for sword, 1 for their beam. Well, if you're doing that here, why aren't you doing that with the
I knew that was going to come. Yes. I knew that.
I mean, when you told me it was for simplicity's sake, then I didn't like it, but I let it go. Now they're throwing that out right here. They're throwing out right here.
When I read this last night, I was like, if this is, I didn't know if it was going to be a hang up for you. I really didn't. But I said, if this is a hang up for Heathen Dog, what's going to happen is he's going to wait a second. Why is it this way for that one, but not this one? Called it.
The same problem I had with skills. In skills, if a skill doesn't exist, it should be treated as if you're doing it untrained. Because guess what? If a skill doesn't exist, you weren't fucking trained in it. Why have a completely different role for that? It's stupid. It's adding complexity. This one is adding complexity when you went out of your way earlier with the idea of not complicating things.
I wouldn't say complexity. I would say inconsistency. But
okay.
But I'm not going to argue that. I'm just saying this book is consistently inconsistent on so many levels.
This is ridiculous. All right.
But do you understand what bumping is yet?
What?
Has it told you
what a fucking bump is?
Okay.
If you roll a 1 through 6 when making your attack roll, you've hit somewhere on the target's body. If you use a single bump, you can move each hit in the multi-action attack to any body section adjacent to the locations rolled. Okay, thank you for making it fuck. All right, so we have to go back to that chart.
Nope. We have to go down to this chart.
Oh, okay. All right, got it. Okay.
So this is what I disagree with on this chart.
Hang on.
Okay.
Let me do this. From what I've read, all right? From what I've read so far, I'm doing a burst.
Yep.
And I roll a 7. But I have a skill of 13 in plasma ion cannon, which is what I'm using.
Okay.
And that means I have 2 bumps.
Yes.
So I hit with my gun. I rolled a 22. All right.
Okay.
Great, I hit. Woo! Awesome.
Excuse me.
But I rolled a 7 on my ROFD. Well, damn it. That means I actually missed.
Right.
I rolled 7. That means I actually missed twice.
Mm-hmm.
No, I get 2 bumps.
Yep.
Now, do I get 2 bumps per ROFD roll or 2 bumps for the whole AF action total? That's what I don't know yet.
Okay. Well, let's just talk about the 2 bumps first.
Okay. So let's say I can split those bumps between both of the ROFD rolls. Let's say that. I don't know that's true yet, but let's say I can. Instead of 2 misses, I can have 2 hits because I can bump both those 7s to 6s and hit him in the leg twice.
Sure. Or
but if I cannot split my bumps, that means I hit once, but I rolled a 5 and a 7.
Don't you're going to get your answer. So don't focus on the splitting of bumps right now. Let's just look at the bumps. So you said you could bump twice, right?
Yeah.
You can go from 7 to 6 to 2. You follow the arrows.
Oh, 7 to 6 to 2. Okay, got it.
To 5 to
2, following the arrows. Or I could go to 5 if I want.
Yeah. This is what I disagree with on this chart. First of all, you can bump from 6 to 5. That doesn't make sense to me.
That is not a logical progression. You're absolutely right. You should be going towards center mass and then toward the head.
7 should talk to 2. 1 bump from 7 should be 2. Why? Because you're always taught to aim at center of mass. These people actually who write this book pride themselves on their martial arts. That's great. Maybe that makes them write great combat for fisticuffs. But apparently they've never been trained by any military or paramilitary organization how to shoot. You're not taught to shot the head. You're not taught the legs. To shoot the legs. You're shot to shoot center of mass. So any error, any adjustment should be to center of mass. Now, I know somebody's going to argue, but if you have 2 bumps or even 1 bump from center of mass, you could automatically choose the head every time. That's easy. I would simply say you just can't bump to the head. I mean, if the head's that vital, you just can't bump to the head. I would not have a problem with a rule like that, or using BattleTech rules where you bump the roll 2 points, but now all of a sudden you have to be able to bump to boxcars to get this, or in this case, I guess it'd be Snake Eyes. You'd have to bump to Snake Eyes to do that. Well, there's no chance of bumping to Snake Eyes, but at least start here and then go out. Like, okay, you bump from 7 to center of mass. Well, I don't want to hit center of mass. All the armor's there.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. I mean, if you're not aiming, you're shooting at center mass. So
right.
if you're varied a little bit and you used your bump, you would bump to center mass, which is what you were not really aiming for, but definitely aiming for.
So dead red herring. My speculation for the bump thing is to give characters with higher skill more chance to actually hit, to prove that they have higher skill with this weapon. Like, okay, I may have missed, but now I get a bump. So let's start to answer Heathen Dog's question about
can you bump more than one of the half or full action?
Calculate the number of offensive bumps. Or you already read that one, didn't you?
Bumping on target shots. I didn't read that.
Well, did you do calculating the number of offensive bumps? I think you did. Okay.
Yes,
so then we have the chart. So bumping on target shots. Did you read that? I don't think you did.
No, I didn't. If you roll a 1 through 6 when making your attack, you've hit somewhere on the target's body. If you have a single bump, you can move each hit in the multi-action attack to any body section adjacent to the locations rolled. If you have more than 1 bump, you can move the hits multiple times, but each location you move a hit must be adjacent to the prior location. That makes sense. I get it. The legs are considered adjacent to each other and the torso is adjacent to all of the body sections. I get that too. Bumps may be applied to each hit location you make, no matter how many hit location rolls are required in a single attack. Oh, okay. Yeah, so every time you roll that ROFD, you can bump on separate rolls. Good. Okay. I wanted to know that. And now I know.
I wanted to spoil it. I really did, but I was like, nope. That was hard for me to contain. Do we need? I think we did enough examples just through our discussion. Okay.
Yeah, we did.
So off-target shots. This is when you actually miss. This is the one I disagree with. This one I agree with. This is the one I've already explained that I disagree with.
Yeah. Yeah. If you roll a 7 and you bump on, you shouldn't go to a foot. You should go to center mass. Yeah.
Yes, Indigo Dragon, except for I do remember there were shots but I think they had to be called in the previous edition. I could be wrong, and I hate talking about the previous editions of the game when I don't remember. I know we hit different locations. I just don't remember what the system was that we did to do that. So I was almost always in melee combat. I was a Scissorak, and my point of freaking what is the same thing Apache helicopter pilots use? What you see is what you get. Wherever I look, that's where the weapon aims. My stupid thing was always broken. Damn it. Okay, so now we've already done this. So let's look at the summary. This is a pretty decent summary. Bumps may be applied to each hit location roll you made. Notice that I stayed up here like this. I didn't scroll down. You can bump an on the body hit one to any adjacent for each bump spent. So, so you can go from leg to head if you have 2 bumps.
Right. I have no problem with that. That's fine.
I do, but I do and I don't. The way they wear head armor in this game is a little different. So, okay. When bumping an off the body, you can choose to bump the shot to either leg once. You can bump the shot onto either leg once the die value is reduced to 6. The number of bumps are determined by combat skill, and et cetera, et cetera. So we've kind of already talked about that because he read it. Point blank bumps. If you are in range bracket 1 with a ranged weapon, I do not like this because if you've ever now there's a caveat. Range bracket 1 in this game is actually pretty big. It's out to 5 meters. So that takes back the part I don't agree with. But when somebody's wrestling you and you're just trying to shoot down, basically, if you don't have a handgun, I'd love to see you take a rifle. If Heathen Dog was this close to me, let's see, can I do this close to me? It's going to be hard for me to try to shoot him. I shouldn't get a bump, especially with the rifle. But that would have to be a game master call. The problem is this actually range bracket 1 goes out to 5 meters. And 5 meters is 17 feet? Okay, I can see it there. That's pretty close, right? You cannot bump. You cannot, as a result, if the target is at range bracket 4 or beyond, that's 26 meters and more. Because I think range bracket 3 goes out to 25 meters. So we'll just say anything longer than 25 meters, you cannot bump also. So really, you can only bump at range brackets 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
I wish it would have said that earlier.
Yeah, me too. That'd have been great.
So
it's more like at this point, it's like, oh, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, just one sentence. If the target is within 20, range brackets 1, 2, or 3, or if the target is 25 meters or less, you may use bumps. That should have been in the first paragraph of the section.
Yeah, when you're describing what a bump is.
Yeah. Apache helicopter, that's a gender. That gets to go on the screen. There we go. Okay.
I identify as a Black Hawk helicopter.
Black Hawk down, Black Hawk down. Okay, doing damage, unarmed hand-to-hand damage. We talked about some of this before. It's 1 plus your damage adjustment, which is your strength. Now, you can do temporary damage. Okay, kicks, by the way, take half, so you can only do 2 kicks around if you're a ninja. Which, honestly, I think that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I have seen people do 3 and 4 kicks.
But those are usually part of forms, not actual attacks.
Session in less than 3 seconds. But they were all 5th degree black belts or higher. So yeah.
Well, but those are usually during forms and not actual attacks.
No. This was during a competition.
Full strength attacks?
Yeah.
Not just like jabs.
Looked like it hurt.
Well, fair. I mean, jabs can hurt.
I wasn't personally kicked by it, so I can't tell you for sure. But the person who got kicked 2 out of the 3 times, it looked like it hurt.
Because one of the things that some games delineate, some games don't, and I use the example again is the jab. I mean, jabs are just quick. Each one only does like a point of damage, or however you want to say it. But when you stack them up to like the 5 attacks that person did, like
I was just saying, I get why this is the way, but in real life, I've seen it happen to where this is not the actual way. But in the game, I got no problem with it. It's fine.
Pythonians and Scissoraks can choose to do real damage. Do you know why?
Because they're friggin' huge and they hit like a truck.
And I have claws.
Fair.
There's actually, and I forgot to show this before, there are some kick damage when we get there. For the FOT, is actually 6. When think of it, it's a bunny rabbit. It's like a kangaroo kicking you.
Yeah. Because the person who made that walking troll joke wanted to give them an oomph.
Actually, I'm with Indigo Dragon on this one. Conceptually, I like it. I think the implementation could use more.
I like it too. Right. I mean, it's not applied properly in my opinion, but the idea is sound.
I'm just going to tell you right now, there's nobody who likes this game who's still watching this video. Well, we have alienated everybody. If we have not alienated you, please post that in the comments. I'm going to forget what you're talking about. So timestamp it or say you did not. I don't know, whatever. That's been a big thing recently at the comments that we've been getting. People like a video from like 3 years ago. I disagree with this. What? Like, I don't remember what you're talking about.
3 years ago. I have no idea what you're talking about.
All right. Taking damage, temporary damage. This is, I don't know how to, because this is actually going to kind of segue into what we talked about during segment 2. I've never been a huge fan of temporary damage, but I understand that is absolutely vital to a game like this. It just becomes another statistic that has to be taken care of. I prefer it when temporary damage literally does no damage and gives a potentiality for knocking somebody out or knocking them to the ground, or it's like 1/4 real damage. Like, look, I clubbed you in the face with my fist that's really big. That isn't like being stabbed with a sword, but at the same time, I could break a cheekbone. So, or an orbital, orbital? Is that what it's called? The orbital bone? Something like that. So, yeah, but again, I get it. I get it. Each time a character loses, each time a character loses 1/4 of his original body point total. So let's say you're a human. What do humans start with? A D6 plus something? Plus 2 or whatever? Let's just arbitrarily say 8 because it's a nice, easy number for this. Anytime you lose 2 body points in a single hit, or you're reduced to 0 body points, you take a critical hit. Don't take damage in this game.
Okay, now they haven't actually said this yet, but that is after armor.
Yes. Well, no, it's when the character loses. I mean, there are a lot of things that are going to be in the way of when the character.
Copy that.
So
I'm on board.
But when determining what constitutes core of a character's total body points, we ignore always round down, use normal rounding rules. Okay, whatever. Characters who fail con check. Okay, so let's put it this way: there are critical hits in the game. Do we have to read every word of this chapter?
No, we don't. I mean, you have to roll con, and if you want to know what that roll is, you can look at last week's episode. We went through vital statistics checks.
Okay. Limb loss and max damage per hit. So basically what this says is you cannot take more than half of your damage total, maximum damage. So let's say you have those 8 hit points. You can't take 5 points of damage unless it's to the center torso. You can't take 5 points of damage to the arm. It stops at 4. And if you take that 4, your arm is gone or mangled or whatever. Yes.
Yeah.
There's a critical hit table, which I like this table because now this was smart. This was smart.
Hang on. I'm rolling down. Hang on. If you lose a limb, you lose half of your maximum body points.
And vice versa. Yeah.
Unfortunately, at the point the limb is considered severed or mangled beyond saving, the rule does not apply to a weapon that strikes more than one body section in a single attack, or weapons that do damage in heavy points or larger increments. Again, heavy points is capitalized. I have no idea what it means because it's a term that no one's described yet. Characters who use a limb lose 1 body point per combat round due to blood loss, more than half, starting the combat round after the limb loss.
Mm-hmm.
Hang on. Negative body point. Okay.
I didn't want to go through all this because I think we're taking long, but this is good information. So
okay, yeah, but the thing is that you lose your limb and you're immediately taken down to half your health, to half your body points. If your character loses more than half their maximum body points in any attack, it stops there. Okay, it just reiterated for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe because there was a giant chart in the way, but it said the same thing twice. That's fine. So if someone does 100 damage to your leg, it doesn't outright kill you because it can't. You literally can't do 100 damage to someone's leg or arm.
No, you can only do 50% of the overall.
At half of their body points, and the damage stops there. Then,
plus the bleed.
Starting with the next combat round,
okay, yep.
you start losing 1 body point per turn through blood loss until that is stabilized. First aid, anyone? Yes, please.
Now, first of all, I want to comment on a comment. Our Hawkman says, I can't claim to like the game. This is for everybody watching, whether it's on YouTube later or watching the stream right now, because we have lost, our viewership has dropped by half, at least according to that number. Is it the game or is it how we're presenting it? If it's the game, I don't care. If it's how we're presenting it, well, I don't know.
Well, you know what? I'm not trying to hate the game. I'm not trying. I just knew I would.
Well, so can you explain that? Why did you know you would?
Because I didn't read any of the combat section because I was scared, to be fair. I was scared of it. I thought I was going to hate it. I was pretty sure I was going to hate it. Just because as the book has progressed, I started to not like the game more and more as we've gone through it. And I knew combat was probably going to be the tipping point for me. And here we are.
And this saddens me to some degree because I do like this game. I can't say anything about 7th edition, but it's a game that I think is very crunchy. You have to want to be that type of person, and I'm typically not, but I get what the game's going for. I think just for me, if I were to
gotten there better.
Well, I think just this book is written so poorly that some of my just and yours, is just coming out as in an FU.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even talking about grammar, where the way you were speaking of. I'm not speaking of grammar. I'm just speaking of half the time they're talking about terms that they haven't explained yet. So you have to read the whole section twice minimum to understand. You have to read it, and then you have to read it again. Now you know all of the terms, and now you can fully understand the section, which is stupid.
So I think this is very fair. He said it's the game, but he'd give it a go. And that's awesome, Jim Zelkov. By the way, thank you for coming by. Well, I think I'm plugging your channel after this segment. Because this is a game that isn't going to be for everybody, but it is a game that I enjoy playing, at least in previous editions. And to be fair, once it gets put into the noodle here, I have not had an overall problem with this combat. Yes, I don't like how certain things are done, especially I don't like how the bumping system's implemented. But like Indigo Dragon said, I like it conceptually. I think I would just change it to BattleTech rules. Like I just do it. Like it just makes more sense to me. I don't like the head being that easy to hit if you start center mass, but I think center mass should be the primary because that's how you're taught to fight. And if this game is supposed to represent military, but all told, let's go into the critical table here and show where something that I really enjoy. Now, first of all, I tend to like critical tables in games. So I like DCC for that. I like Forbidden Lands for, failed magic and so forth. Roll that 66 and all of a sudden you suck through a portal, never to be seen again. But what I like about it is there's a D100 section for randomness and a D10. You hit him in the head. So what happened? 1, head removed from the shoulders. No, you cannot walk around like a chicken with your head cut off. Roll up a new character. See, and this is that dark humor that they put back into it. I like that. Okay, so we're not going to read everything on here. I just wanted to show that there's a D100 for complete randomness, and then there's the D whatever it happens to be, D20 for the torso, for you were hitting the torso, so just roll a D20. And it says over here what's needed to treat it. You can't really treat your head being removed.
No.
But can you do the hat box? I mean, specifically using Heathen Dog now, saying the language here says it's just removed from the shoulder. You were not embalmed. You were not. Your brain wasn't stirred. You could hat box
1 and 2. No, the hat box wouldn't help you because your brain was destroyed.
Doesn't say that.
No, your brain was destroyed. Treat skill, nothing. Difficulty, nothing, because there is no roll. There is no help.
But that's magic. That's magic. I don't care either way. I'm just saying, well, this one's pretty blatant. I think this one is no hat box.
Well, if your head was removed from the shoulders, but the thing is, there number 9 is neck. If you hit someone in the neck with a high-powered rifle, guess what's leaving their shoulders? Their head.
It doesn't say that. It just says -10 agility, and you need first aid with a difficulty of -80.
But if I do 4 or more damage to hypothetical Joe, who we were talking about earlier, that motherfucker's dead.
And to be fair, that's a great example. Neck is considered part of the head, and if you did that 4 points of damage to the head, it is.
But I would say a hat box would work because your brain has.
But here's the thing. This isn't for the hypothetical 4 points of damage. 50%. This is just for a critical hit. This is for a quarter of the damage. Remember, critical hits are a quarter of your body points.
Right.
The automatic limb loss is for half.
Right.
So anyway, we're going down a rabbit hole here. My fault.
Hitting the neck with a
50 cal.
Yeah, and it's only -10 agility. What?
So yeah.
What?
Yeah, Heathen Dog, don't drag logic into this. Put that on the screen.
Sorry.
Where is it?
Yeah. It is but a flesh wound.
Oops. Palladium games are a lot easier to understand now, right? Okay.
No, I still say Palladium combat is a little harder. At least with this one, if you read it 2 or 3 times, you'll get it.
That's fair, Indigo Dragon.
With Palladium, you have to do it 2 or 3 times to get it.
I think Indigo Dragon's fair with this one. You kind of have to know who we are.
Yeah. And
also, to be fair, this is a bad representation because our segment ones are only supposed to be nothing but the facts, ma'am. It's sometimes like with Star Trek Adventures and Battlelords of the 23rd century, we have a hard time with that.
Yeah, because it was written really, really poorly. And this one is not only written poorly, it's also poorly structured, just like Star Trek Adventures. Poorly structured.
The difference being, I actually understand these rules. I still don't understand Star Trek Adventures rules. Okay, negative body points. So you can fight until negative body points reach 0. Why? Because you have a death's door rating, and you can go down to your death's door rating. And we talked about that when we talked. Did we talk about? Well, at least we mentioned what it is when we talked about the races of the game. So you're stunned if your temporary body points are reduced to 0. You have a critical hit if you lose a quarter of your body points, single attack, or you reduce to 0. Limb loss at half total body points to a single limb. Treat as a critical, etc., etc., etc. Okay. I skillfully blocked the Eridani's sword with my heart. I don't know how you're saying that because you're whatever. Okay, optional. Optional. I want to stress that. Warning.
Got it.
Optional. Close combat techniques. So I'm not going to read it, but we've got grappling, tackle. Grappling is one of those things that I don't think has ever been done well in any game ever. And I think it's because you can't really write grappling with dice. There are so many nuances to grappling, from a character's agility to a character's skill to some strength to so on and so forth. And there's even a book. It's called like Dungeons and Dragons Grappling Sucks or something like that, or Grappling in Your Face. I don't know. Somebody wrote a book on that stuff, and I read it, and it still didn't fix grappling. Grappling's in the eye of the beholder. I have since gone the free league route of grappling, which is like, you're held, shut up, we're moving on. Like, oh, you broke free, you're not held, shut up, we're moving on. It's just because it gets into the, especially when you start talking about people who know martial arts. No, so what I would actually do is I would turn this way, I'd flip this, I'd grab him by the thumb, like, shut up, dude, your roll failed, we're moving on. Like,
well, no, all of that stuff is next in the more crunch rule, because that's what this game needed, is more crunch.
A tail swipe, I like, because choke holds and submission holds. I'm going to be honest with you. I did not read these yesterday. I skipped them because I knew that when I talked about it today, I'd just be like, I don't care. I don't care. You can read these rules when you play the game. What I did think was kind of neat is if I want to toss Heathen Dog, I can do that. If my strength is 61, I throw him 3.5 meters.
Good job.
Yeah. It's actually minus size, class, and so forth. So, but we're not going to.
And actually, does the throw actually take away actions from your opponent or take away initiative or anything like that?
Technically, I don't remember reading that, but let me make sure.
The defender also suffers 1 damage plus the attacker's damage adjustment. This damage is divided between 2 locations of the attacker's choosing. If the defender has defensive bumps available, they can use them normally. Characters with the
wait, stop. How did that not rage you?
Damage. How
did defender bumps not rage you? We haven't talked about those yet.
Yeah, no, but I know what a bump is. I can imagine it's hand-to-hand combat bumps I haven't used yet. I can
Okay.
guess.
Let's talk about defensive bumping. That's next. Yeah, it's throwing.
No, but the reason I asked that is because you had a problem in Rifts where your psycho guy, what's his name? What
Psycho
I'm
guy.
blanking on the class.
I played a cyborg.
Nope. You also played a mom.
No, that was Jim, I think his name was.
Okay, well, the other person had more attacks than you.
Yes.
So he ended up always getting one hit on you and you get nothing on him.
Yep.
But in Palladium, throwing someone not only decreases their initiative, it decreases the amount of attacks they get.
I couldn't pick him up because of his damn auto dodge.
Yeah.
So
a successful throw just turns the table. It changes the initiative of the and I'm not saying initiative number, but initiative of the battle. You know, you've
I could just never get my hands on him, and he kept going. Like he could dodge five, because I think I had 5 attacks or 4 attacks, and he always had one more attack to me, so he could dodge even without auto dodge. He could dodge the first 4 and then just take his one attack to like poke me in the ding ding.
Okay, yeah. Violence solves everything. Says go last and lose 1 action. Exactly. You not only lose initiative, but you also lose an action. So, you know, you can start whittling him down like that. Now he's going last all the time until initiative's rolled again, and he's -1 action for doing nothing.
So characters with the acrobatics can attempt to avoid falling damage. Roll punch fall. Since we're talking Palladium.
Right. Okay, that's for avoiding falling damage. Yeah.
All right. So hand-to-hand melee weapon defense, aka defensive bumping. When defending against hand-to-hand and melee weapon attacks, a character can choose to spend half or all actions to defend. Using a defensive.
No, I was wrong. All right, I assumed what a defensive buff was. Now I know that it's a completely different mechanic. For what reason? None at all. All right, continue.
So if you spend half your actions, you get 1 bump. If you spend all actions, you get 2 bumps.
Awesome.
And here you go. So you can basically force people to miss. Offensive bump can be used to move hit locations of an attack to an adjacent body section. Now, here's the thing. I am totally guessing here, but I think the reason they did it this way, half and all, is to allow a character who uses a burst. Let's say half attacks are 4 attacks, or half attacks are 3. So the person has 6 actions, right? Mm-hmm. And you have 4 actions or 6 actions or whatever, but you can only bump 2 of them. That still allows the attacker to hit you and hurt you. It might not be as bad because instead of 4 doing vital damage to you, only 2 are doing vital damage to you, but it still allows the attacker. Otherwise, combat would last 7 hours. It already takes a long time in this game. It would make combat last like 7 hours if you just said, I could bump every single attack that hits me. Does that make sense? Whether anybody agrees or disagrees with that rule, or my logic is even flawed.
No. I get it. I get it. It's just that I don't agree that that defensive bump should have its own mechanic separate from offensive. It's
really the same mechanic. It's just how many actions. Really it takes actions. You have to want to do it.
Yeah, exactly. It's a completely different mechanic because offensive bumps are based on your skill. Defensive bumps are based on your actions.
Well, right. Okay.
So it's a completely different mechanic. Yeah, and that's unnecessary, which is a trend with this game so far in combat, making unnecessary mechanics.
I guess I'm okay with it because I think that if you want to actively make sure that somebody shot that already rolled to hit you and already rolled damage location doesn't get that, so you've already forced that person to roll twice.
No, you didn't say that. You can bump after damage is rolled.
Well, you have to declare it beforehand. Well, okay. I would say. I
didn't say anywhere. I didn't see anywhere where you can do it before damage is rolled.
Well,
or after.
It just says half action. So in theory, if you've only declared, hey, I'm going to take 2 shots this round, because you can defend at any time. Remember, you spend your actions during your initiative roll. Defensive actions can be any time.
But correct. So does that mean I can choose to bump after damage is rolled?
For the offense, yeah.
For the defense.
I would say yes.
That's horrible.
but it takes an action. So I would definitely say yes.
No. Here's my problem with it. All right. If you can choose to take your defensive bump after damage is rolled, that means the person rolls damage first. Oh, he only rolled 2 damage. Well, I'll let him strike my arm. It's not gonna cut it off, or it's not gonna break it. But if he rolls 3, oh crap, that's more than a quarter of my whole health. That means he's gonna break my arm. I'm gonna defensive bump that to my chest.
The reason I don't have a problem with that is a couple reasons. Number one, if it doesn't matter if it's before or after. It's taking up your actions. So if you've already tried to spend actions or want to spend actions, well, let's do it the hard way. If you've already taken your actions, you can't even do this. You literally have to save actions for this.
That's not my problem. We all understand that. Go ahead.
The second, well, I'm saying it for clarity out there also. The second part is if you haven't taken your actions and you do this, you don't get as many actions you had before. All of a sudden, your actions are halved, or you've just used them all up. You now don't get to attack yourself that round. You're literally just saving your life. So I don't have a problem with that.
Here's why. Here's an example. This is what a defensive bump is. Someone's coming at you with their claw attack. They're coming at you. You have to decide if you want to try and block that with you have actions left. Block it with your left arm, block it with your right arm, or just friggin' take it. That's the bump. You're getting another body part in the way of the initial attack.
Or avoid blow, but wasn't exactly successful to completely avoid it. So
whatever. That's
dodging out of the way. Yeah.
I mean, you could bump someone into a miss, right? You can do that.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're that good, then fine. But if you have to choose, it's going to hit your torso. But you have to make a choice. I can throw it into an arm or a leg by putting that limb in the way. That's my defensive bump. But I should not be able to make that choice after damage is rolled, because after damage is rolled, the hit is being resolved. I don't see yet.
Okay, so I get what
must be used before damage is rolled.
First of all, is damage rolled in this game?
Damage is taken.
Right. So we haven't got to that part, but spoiler alert, usually it's not. Usually it's static.
Okay, but then before damage is taken or after damage is taken? If you can defensive bump after damage is taken, it's wrong.
See, I disagree with that.
Okay.
For game mechanics, I disagree. And only because of the reason that it actually takes up actions. If it didn't do that, I'd be 100% on board with you. But because
actions both ways.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it does.
You don't have to spend. No, I shot. And now I choose just simply because I have a higher skill to bump it. First of all, it takes a half action only because I'm using a burst action. The weapons fire doesn't cause the bump. What causes the bump is that I had to roll that D8 or D10, and I got a 7 or 8 or 9 or 10. Well, that wouldn't work. So 7 or 8.
I think you're fundamentally misunderstanding what I'm talking about here. It's that you have to make the choice for defensive bump before damage is rolled, before damage is applied. Before damage is applied, because once damage is applied, it's applied to wherever the attacker put it or whatever you defended with. But in this game, it doesn't say anywhere in defensive bump. I've been reading ahead while you've been talking, and it has not said that you must use defensive bumps before damage is applied. It doesn't say that. That means I can choose to apply a defensive bump to change the location of the damage after damage is applied.
Defender can only modify hit location rolls using defensive bumps after the attacker has finished modifying the rolls with
their offensive bumps. Great. Okay. But what about damage? Because that's going to be my main thing. That is going to be
damage is irrelevant.
No, it is not. Definitely not irrelevant. Definitely not. If you shot my arm and did a quarter of the damage of my entire body, I lose my arm. But if you're going to do that, well, I'll just defensive bump it. No, I'm sorry. If you because the hand-to-hand attacks are the only thing that can be defensively bumped. Ranged attacks cannot be defensively bumped.
There's an example here where it talks about using I think shooting a Mutsukin's head, or the Mutsukin changing it to his head because of armor. Here is it. Henry the Mutsukin is wearing a suit of whatever armor.
Jorhoto says, hi, without knowing this game, do you know at least if the incoming damage is a critical or normal attack? Yes, you would know that before damage is applied. You would know that because the other person rolled against you, and you know if it's going to be a critical or not. No, actually,
no. You only know if it's maximum damage or not, and that's if the person rolled at one. So Henry the Mutsukin is wearing a suit of armor that has a threshold rating of 4.
Okay.
That we haven't got into that yet, but whatever. Nope. A bullet strikes the armor. Strikes the armor. Damage is rolled with a result of 3 points. So the bullet ricochets off the armor. The same suit with a threshold rating 4 is struck by another bullet in the right arm. The bullet does 6. Okay, this is actually an armor. I thought this was going to talk about the. Nope, this isn't it. There was. I thought I read an example that actually talked about that. Oh, here. So for the body section, Henry can add. Okay. So let's read this example because maybe it's in here. Because I thought I read something about this last night. Fred strikes Henry in body section 6 and body section 2 with a sword. Since Fred wasn't attacking with a ranged weapon, Henry decides he's going to spend half his actions on a single defensive bump, try to avoid being struck. Recall that a character can spend remaining actions to defend at any time, even if it's not his initiative.
Right.
On the hit to body section 6, Henry can use his defensive bump to move it to an adjacent body section or to add 1 to the hit location. Yeah, 7. Henry decides to add 1 to the hit location number and change it from 6 to 7. This pushes the hit off of Henry's body and causes that hit to miss. For the hit to body section 2, Henry could add 1 to the roll using his single defensive bump, but he can't push it off his body. He can, however, move the hit to 1 adjacent body section, or hit to 1. Since the hit was to the torso, Henry could move the hit anywhere on his body with a single bump. All body sections are considered adjacent to the torso. Henry remembers that he's got really nice helmet and decides to bump the hit from body section 2 to body section 1. Here's to hoping that Henry's helmet is as tough as he thinks he is. So this implies that damage has not been rolled.
It's done before damage is applied.
But I could have sworn when I looked at weapons, and let me quickly just whip down to where they are, that most weapon damage was static, if I remember correctly.
Weapon damage is static, but it doesn't mean every character knows how much damage that a pickaxe is going to do versus a hatchet versus a long sword versus a trebuchet. You don't know.
Sure. Come on now. All right. So where were we? So fair enough. It's before the damage. I mean, and I don't mind having it done. Just like I said, I could have sworn that most of the damage was static. That's why I didn't really put that into consideration. When it's not static, yeah, I kind of treat it like a void blow from Earth Dawn. You have to roll before damage is done.
Yeah,
you don't get to see what the damage is
here as well. Because if you're from a tech planet, a planet of tech level 4, and you're up against someone from tech level 9.
No, I don't mind that. It's just understand that when I'm thinking of this, I'm thinking of damage as statics. You already know it's going to be taken. You already know what your armor is, what its threshold rating is, what its structural integrity is, as so on and so forth.
Well, I'm thinking the character wouldn't know, sure. The character doesn't know the damage, the additional damage due to strength of his opponent necessarily. Okay. That one's a random addition, right? D4, D6, D8, whatever. Or is that well, it doesn't matter. You won't know your opponent's strength stat. So you don't know what hand-to-hand additional damage that person's going to have.
Sure. You just know that if he's ram, it gets double.
Yeah, but what if you have 40 body points? You're like, I could take double, fuck it. But then it comes in and this ram python has a 140 strength attribute. And if you let him, claw your arm, now you know that your arm's going to get ripped off, but your body is not. So you will elect to bump it, either not bump it at all or bump it to your torso.
Sure. I'm just going to go with
that's too much.
With the implication here tells me that
before damage is applied.
Before damage is, yeah.
Okay. Again, we have to imply. Maybe it'll say later. That'd be funny. But par for the course for this book.
So what I was just so everybody is clear, what I was visualizing is even though he was saying damage, I was looking at the bumps. So yes, the defender can defensively bump after the offender attacker does the offensive bumps. Right. So if you try to bump it to my head, I might say, no, we're bumping that back to my center torso.
Right.
But it costs me half my actions.
Right.
It does not cost. You could say, well, it costs the attacker half the actions too because it had to burst fire. Well, the advantage of burst fire is you don't summarily lose 20, 20, 20, 20. So, all right, actively dodge. We're gonna get a lot of hate on this video if people watch it.
That's fine.
You cannot use defensive bumps.
I hope one of the idiot writers actually watches this and starts something. Oh man, I want that.
So here's a great one. And I think my implication, because I know I read this yesterday too, and I knew this, but I think I even mentioned ranged attacks, but you cannot use defensive bumps against ranged attacks.
No. Yeah, I read that too.
And it makes perfect sense. So if I implied that you could bump a bullet, I apologize.
No, I actually said, I started saying you could, and then I stopped and said, no, ranged attacks, you cannot defensively bump any of that.
Yeah. So yeah, you want to get behind cover. So what does it take to get behind cover? You want to take a half action to dodge, to actively dodge. Mm-hmm. And the attacker receives a penalty equal to 1/4 of the dodging character's agility. Fought could use half. Remember when I said earlier that going the hunting the Fought might not be as easy.
No, that's what makes it more fun.
So there you go. Yeah, man, I love it when they squirm. Anyway, the attack now. Rams don't even bother. Don't even try to dodge. It's just not going to happen. Scissorak and Fought, though, good. Bring on the hate. It'll replace the Dune video as the most hated. That wasn't the most hated. Our Oriental Adventures one is the most hated one. Although some of Heathen Dog's old DCC ones get a lot of hate too, and I still haven't figured that out.
I haven't figured out why.
One of them even called you an edgelord. Did you see that comment?
Edgelord? I don't understand that. I was so calm during the old Legion Myth live stream.
And you even said you liked the game.
Yeah. I don't
and somebody said, this sounds like an edgelord to me. I was like, wait, what? I said, can you please explain that? Because I don't get it. But all right. You can spend half your character's actions to actively dodge. You can dive for cover. Look, man, I'm getting sick and tired of reading all these rules, and it's been like damn near 2 hours. Actually, I think it's been 2 hours. I think we stop now. I do understand armor. I read it yesterday, and I know what all these little tables and so forth mean. But here is my promise to everybody, and you can clip this and quote it. I am not going to stop complaining when it's just a gut reaction, kind of like Heathen Dog saying, "Oh my God, you haven't defined something again" or whatever. But I am not going to correct paragraphs anymore. You get the hint. From now on, we're just going to talk about the game rules and so forth. And if something is obnoxious, we'll quickly and we'll move on. But
okay, and we don't need to go through combat anymore because all this other crap is all situational. ECM, ECCM, armor, optional armor rules.
Well, we do want to talk about that. Armor is very important.
I want to talk about armor a little bit.
Armor is the most important thing in this game, if you ask me.
Yeah, it's great, but everything else, nah.
Oh, the ECM, ECCM is just it lowers ID rolls, and if you're let's say you got a 60% chance on your scanner, but the ECM is 80%. Well, that's -20, so you don't even have a chance in hell of doing it. That's generally what it is. We can cover it because we've got to cover it at least to say it's there. Weapon rules, kinetic weapons, how this game identifies kinetic weapons versus other types. I mean, just look at how in depth this game gets on certain things. What suppression fire is? Do they actually use what suppression fire actually is in real combat? We'll find out. Missiles and rockets. One of the things, I watched a video with these guys yesterday, and it talked about they really wanted to lessen the effect of TOW/LAW rocket launchers, because that was a meme. People used to just say, I'm just going to carry TOW rockets around with me everywhere and shoot them at people. So we'll see how works,
right? I mean,
not in real life, not so much. No, it's kind of hard to aim at a person, especially a moving one.
The thing is, when a rocket explodes, it's a grenade, so it has grenade type damage. So you don't have to get a ringer.
But there's a real reason that they don't issue. And it's not just money, that they don't issue everybody in the military one of those things to use against other people. It isn't the most effective weapon for that. Plus, there are also low AC rules and whatever. But anyway, Yeah, we'll go into some of this. Every time I say we'll go faster through things, we don't, and it's simply because we get caught up. But that's fine. I mean, this game is a crunchy game. I think if there's one mistake I make, and that's I start wanting to read the paragraphs so that I'm giving it to you. It's presented here instead of just saying, "Hey, direct fire mode is this, automated mode is that," and moving on. But you tell me. You tell me in the comments or in chat here if you like our current style of doing it, or if you think that we need to be more like a YouTube video and do. Yeah. Oh, man, Heathen Dog is so edgy.
Yeah, I'm edgelord. I'm an edgelord.
All right. What time is it? 3:30. So it's a half hour into the Vikings game. I wonder how badly they're losing right now. Pretty bad. Nobody likes you. Okay. Any final comments from anybody in chat while I get our segment 2 stuff up? Wow, that was 2 hours, dude, that we talked about that.
That was way too long. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I took off the book. I want the
book makes you do it.
The only time in the Legion of Myth live stream where I think I actually got pissed off was for that stupid dragon anime. The dragon and the little flying, the little girl. I forget the name of it. Thank God.
Yeah, me too. No, I remember it now. I'm not going to say it.
Good. Don't tell me. I want to know. But
my wife will probably type it in chat though.
Don't you dare. I will ban you. But that anime was so awful. So awful. It was the only 1-star anime I gave. The only one.
Oops.
Mar Hockman, I completely agree with you.
You know what? I'm going to keep these comments for the YouTube segment, for the actual YouTube stuff, because if anybody gets this far, I want them to see. God dang it!
He watches anime. Oh my God! All right,
you go ahead. Let me get this stuff up, and you go tell.
David,